Differential equations, type 2, real world. D, nonlinear motion. So in the nonlinear motion questions, we're generally dealing with kind of random questions, either on Newton's law of cooling or some sort of business style question where you're looking at profits or margins. Okay, so in this one here, we have a company uses a cost function, C of X, to estimate the cost of producing X items. And we're given the cost function is represented by F plus V of X, where F is the estimate of all the fixed costs and V of X is the estimate of all of the variable costs. We're told that the rate of change of the costs with respect to the items X is equal to the marginal cost, and the marginal cost function is given to us by M of X is equal to 74 plus 1.1x plus 0.03 x squared. So the first thing we want to do is find the cost function C of X. So if we set up the first equation there, we have dc dx is equal to M of X, but we know that, sorry, that's not t, it should be dx, but we know that dc dx is equal to then 74 plus 1.1x plus 0.03 x squared. So if I want to find C, essentially what am I doing? Well, I'm finding my antiderivative. And of course, if I'm finding my antiderivative, I can do as I traditionally do in applied maths, where I get dc on the left and everything else on the right. Or you can just do your antiderivatives as you do in maths. That's totally up to yourself. But here we have no limits when we integrate, so therefore we have to make sure that if it's an indefinite integral, that we're going to have a constant of integration. In other words, plus c. So if I integrate the left-hand side there with respect to c, I get c, and that's c of x. And if I integrate the right-hand side, well, I'm going to get 74x plus 1.1, add 1 to the power, divide by the new power. Add 1 to the power and divide by the new power. Plus, I'm going to get my constant of integration, which of course we can see is f here, up here. F is the estimate of all the fixed costs. So the fixed cost is my constant. So that's going to be plus f, okay? And when you're getting constant integration, so it's the same on both sides. You just take it as one constant. So therefore, we can simplify that, and that's going to be C, our costs of producing our items X, is equal to 74x plus 0.55x squared plus 0.01x cubed plus f. Okay, and there was 5 marks given for that. So part 2 then says find the increase in cost if the company decides to produce 160 items instead of 120. So this is basic algebra here. It's almost too nice. So C is 160. Sorry, not C. X is 160. And that means wherever there's an X, I'm going to put in 160. And therefore, if I simplify all of that by putting it all into my calculator, well, what does that give us? It gives us 11,840, 14,080, 40,960 plus F. So therefore that gives me 66,880 plus F. And then if I do it for 120, wherever there's an X, we're now going to put in 120. So 120 squared plus 0.01 by 120 cubed plus F. So again, if I put all that into my calculator and I simplify, I get 8,880. plus 7,920 plus 17,280 plus f, and therefore that gives me 34,080 plus f. So now, what else does it tell me? Well, if we go back to the question, it says that find the increase in cost. So to find the increase in costs, well, what we have to do is get the difference. So the increase in cost is going to be C 160 minus C of 120. So, in other words, our increase in cost will be 66,880 plus F minus 34,080 plus F. So in other words, it doesn't matter what our fixed costs are, they're irrelevant. Same before, same after, so therefore they're going to cancel. And therefore that leaves me with an increase in cost, and this is in euro, of 32,800. Okay, so we were getting 5 for our first equation and 5 for our increase in costs. So the third part of the question then says, if C of 10 is equal to 3,500, find the fixed cost. So again, another very basic algebra question. Very little integration in this question at all. So we have C of 10 is equal to 3,500. So if I put in C of 10 into my equation, well then that's basically 74 times 10 plus 0.55 by 10 squared plus 0.01 by 10 cubed plus f. So in other words, if I equate these two, I end up with 740 plus 55 plus 10 plus f must equal 3,500. So if I rearrange to get f on its own, I end up with €2,695. And there was 5 for getting out your equation and 5 for solving. So really handy, really handy, 25 marks that year. It's almost too nice.